Everything is legal in New Jersey.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for downloading another episode of Wigs for Wigs. I'm Joe Cook, joined once again by Bill Venezia, and today we're going to tackle issues closer to home for us here in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is some of the politics of our beloved Garden State. So, Bill, welcome back.
Well, Joe, this is you can't. Everything is political in New Jersey or Jersey City or Hudson County, for that matter. And when we talked about doing a show dedicated to local politics, state politics, and the impact on the national politics, I watched this past weekend. This week. George Stephanopoulos had a vacation day, and Jonathan Karl was in doing the speaking.
I like Jonathan Karl.
Yeah, he's pretty good, and you know that Chris Christie is one of the round table.
Right.
So during the round table, Jonathan Karl gave him an opportunity to announce his candidacy because he's speaking more and more like a presidential candidate. And I found his comments very interesting because, of course, the issue of abortion was front and center. And it was his take on this whole thing is that abortion should be left up to the states, that it's not a federal issue, it's a state's issue.
That sounds like a good Republican answer.
You know, it does. But then again, when you think about it...
I don't know when my Republican Party stopped believing in states' rights.
Well, only when it suits the purpose. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Democrats don't feel the same way. But it's kind of ironic that he was for states' rights when all the polling suggests that the pulse of the nation is that 2/3 of voters believe that, number one, they're pro-choice, not pro-life. Also, 2/3 of the voters would like Roe v. Wade to be, not to be reversed. So,
well, I think that's been shown, right? Even Kansas, of all states,
was just going to bring it up.
Had a referendum. I mean, Kansas is as red as it comes.
Absolutely.
And they voted to keep abortion legal.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact details of their referendum, but
they
essentially voted the pro-choice line.
It was an issue too with the recent elections in Wisconsin,
Right.
with regard to their state Supreme Court.
Yes.
Because it was an agenda item, and
Well, Wisconsin's a
overwhelmingly-
purple state, but I mean, to see Kansas vote to keep.
Yeah.
It shows you just where the public opinion is in this country, I think.
Yeah, but to me, it underscores
You know,
the fact
our
that
own views as Catholic educators.
that's a different issue. To be truthful with you, I think honestly, I don't know what to make of the opinion of practicing Catholics. I would think that they would lean more towards pro-life, but the truth of the matter is I'm not so sure about that. I do know that Catholics did vote for Donald Trump in 2020.
Yeah.
They're not a big majority, but still.
Not for our second Catholic president, Joe Biden.
No, which is interesting. But I do kind of think that Christie got his comeuppance because then he went on a little bit of a rant about
Chris Christie losing focus and going on a rant. You know what I'm
he went
saying?
on a rant about the parents of kids in urban areas that are held hostage to poor and failing schools. And it was interesting that he championed this cause then. He said, why should parents basically not have a voucher program?
Right, a school choice
voucher program because their kids are consigned to chronically failing schools. And I believe he's absolutely right.
I was going to say, what is your view on that?
Well, I believe that there should be.
I believe in that fully. I mean,
but in 2013, just before his reelection, there was an issue before the New Jersey legislature. There was a bill sponsored by Joe Lesniak, state senator from Union County, and his Republican counterpart, who's now a congressman, Tom Kean.
Tom Kean, yeah,
Tom
Kean Jr.
They sponsored the Scholarships Opportunity Act, which was a way to give tax credits to businesses in New Jersey who put monies into a pool that would basically be used to fund this opportunity scholarship fund. And what it said was that parents who sent their kids to private or parochial schools, not charters, because charters are publicly funded,
Right.
but they would get a stipend of up to $6,000 of the school of their choice, and to a private or parochial high school up to $9,000. Now, this was something that the NJEA railed against.
Of course.
Now, Chris Christie, who sent his 4 children to Catholic and parochial schools, all of them, did not invest any political capital in getting this bill passed.
Interesting.
He roared like a lion initially, and then was kowtowed by the NJEA, who basically, I think, was worried about the impending re-election, and backed off completely.
Surprised by that, though, because the NJEA was never going to back a Chris Christie re-election as it is.
Well, they have in the past backed Republicans, so it was interesting to hear that. I mean, Christie is mostly bluster, to be truthful with you.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
I like the idea of that legislation. Whatever happened to
It
that?
died.
It died.
It died. And let me tell you, I worked as a Catholic school principal in Bernardsville on these committees to support this, and it wasn't going to benefit my school per se in Bernardsville, because there are good schools up there.
Right.
But if you think about Jersey City,
Yeah, of
Newark,
course, the area where we
Patterson,
are.
Camden,
Oh, so sad that Patterson Catholic. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just before Patterson Catholic shut down.
just before it shut down.
What a shame.
And I got to meet the son of the former Secretary of the Treasury, Mr. Simon, Peter Simon, the son of William Simon.
Yes.
at this basically these meetings, these organizing meetings, which unfortunately didn't get off the ground, and he basically told me he was very disappointed in the governor. Personally, he said that because the governor basically did not use any of his political capital to get this passed. And the truth of the matter is, the William E. Simon Foundation, which has benefited Hudson Catholic to the tune of about $150,000, $160,000 over the past 5 years, they had just given the Diocese of Patterson for Patterson Catholic a grant of $500,000, and a year later the school closed. He was fit to be tied. He said, "I wish they would have told me." That Patterson Catholic had an enrollment of 500 kids when they closed it. It's kind of sad that happened. It turned him off. It made him bitter with regard to this, but he definitely pushed for this Opportunity Scholarship Act. And
It would help the number of Catholic schools. I mean, unfortunately, we've seen now a slew of Catholic schools closing in recent years. We just had an announcement of another one up in Bergen County that's closing down.
Which one is closing?
The one is it Lodi or Montclair?
Not Immaculate Conception?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there are two. One is in Montclair and one is in Lodi.
Yeah.
One is proximate to Felician College, the one in Lodi. But it's kind of sad. But Donna Brazil kind of
I'm all for school choice voucher programs.
Oh, absolutely. Me too.
I mean, especially, again, looking where we are, but not even outside of New Jersey. I mean, I used to teach geography. We looked at the collapse of the Rust Belt, and one thing that we would focus on is Detroit public schools and how disgraceful they became. And I mean, to create opportunities for kids to get out of these failing schools, it's not a lack of money in these public schools. They throw so much money into these public schools in these areas, and it's wasted on so many things. I mean,
they're top heavy. They're administratively top heavy.
Administrators are getting way too many.
In a school district like Jersey City, where there are 28,000 kids go to school here, there aren't enough local decisions made about the specific schools so that principals could have the autonomy of hiring who they want to hire. When I was coming out of college in Jersey City, the going rate for a teacher's job was $3,000 paid to your ward leader. The going rate for a principal or assistant principal's job was between $5,000 and $6,000. This was common knowledge.
Yep.
You know, so what did you get? You got political hacks.
Yeah.
You know, the Jersey City Board of Education prior to the takeover in 1989 was the biggest political job club. It was the plum of the mayor of Jersey City, because up until that point, they were a type 1 school district where the mayor appoints the Board of School Estimates, and he points himself as to one, a 5-person organization that votes on the budget. The people of Jersey City never had the opportunity up until post-takeover to vote on that.
Yeah.
You know, it was always the mayor. So this was a political patronage club that basically in perpetuity that had gone on for about 75 years.
You mean there was some corruption in Hudson County?
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. More so than Louis in Casablanca. But, you know, it's interesting with Christie because he has a good friend in Donna Brazil who's also on that roundtable on This Week. She hammered him. She hammered him on the women's issue, where how could a woman not have the right to choose? That was the argument. And, you know, our bodies, our choice. That was the thing. I think Christie is trying to appeal to whatever's left of sanity in the Republican Party to pose himself against Trump. But the truth, and now he's speaking out against him.
I don't think he gets that.
No, how could he have any credibility when he carried Trump's coat during his presidency January?
The one person who can legitimately appeal to that segment of Republicans, of which I guess I'm still one, although I did change my party affiliation to unaffiliated now, but would be Asa Hutchinson.
Or John Sununu.
But he hasn't declared. I'm saying
he hasn't gotten in.
Asa Hutchinson has declared.
Yeah.
That's a very effective, I mean, granted, a small state, Arkansas governor, but...
I personally, Christie is still not popular in the state of New Jersey. Recent polling on his favorability is somewhere between 12 and 15%.
I think all his supporters were shown in that photo of him on the beach that time when he...
Oh yeah, that
shut
keeps
down the beach
that
to sit
keeps
there by himself.
That keeps recirculating in many different forms, and it's funny every one. But I mean, how much credibility can he have when in January of 2023 he said that Trump would beat Biden, and on Sunday, the 16th of April, now he says Biden will beat Trump hands down. So he's posing himself as the anti-Trump to get back to the Republican Party, which is nonsense. Yeah. You know, the thing I find interesting, he's taking his political potshots at another Floridian. When he did this in 2016, it was little Marco Rubio who he spanked in those debates, and now he's going after Ron DeSantis. Yeah. You know, which is funny. He's carrying Trump's water to a certain degree, which leads me to believe, is he like just all the other Republican hopefuls that he's running for VP? Would he have the gall to be on a ticket, which I don't think Donald Trump would ever pick him as
I'm a little
VP.
surprised. Remember back in 2016, he was the first one to drop out and endorse Donald Trump.
Yes, he did.
It looked like the hostage video, but it was him endorsing Donald Trump. And then he didn't get any job in the Trump administration.
Well, yeah, he did. Initially, he was in charge of the transition, and then he was replaced by Mike Pence at the behest of Jared Kushner.
Right, he was in charge of the transition initially, but he didn't get... I mean, I think he wanted attorney general or something in the Trump administration and didn't get anything.
But in typical New Jersey vendetta fashion, Jared Kushner basically got him to stab him.
Chris Christie prosecuted Jared Kushner's father,
legitimately.
Who by the way, Donald Trump gave a pardon to. You know, I'm sure that was purely on the merits of the case. There was no kind of favoritism expressed there.
Of course, but. It's interesting to look a little bit more locally because
let's look at some New Jersey.
There's a connection here to the next thing I wanted to bring up. The now mayor of Jersey City, the 3-term mayor of Jersey City, Stephen Fulop, announced his candidacy for governor.
Right. Now, so the next New Jersey governor race election is in 25?
25.
Yeah, so we're 2 years out from the next governor's election. And Phil Murphy is term limited.
So he's not there.
He'll be gone.
You'll have, I am sure, the former Senate president who ignominiously lost his race,
Steve Sweeney.
I am sure
Still can't believe he lost his race. But.
you're going to have some more Democrats. But I find it interesting with Stephen Fulop, who announced that he was interested in running for governor when the last go-round. But he got out of that race and ran for re-election in Jersey City, and I'll tell you why. No one knew at the time that Stephen Fulop was working for a company called Foreign Auto Processing Systems. They rented the space under the turnpike in the Bay extension of the turnpike, in that area where you see all the new cars. This company rented that from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. And what this company did was they put all the non-factory installed inserts into cars, like GPSs, stereo systems, or what have you, alarm systems that weren't factory installed. They happen to be in arrears with their rent to the Port Authority. So they employed, for a fee, a consultant, Steve Fulop, the mayor of Jersey City, to basically negotiate with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Of course it is. Now, this doesn't see the light of day except for Bridgegate, because the quid pro quo going back and forth between one David Wildstein, if you remember that name.
For any listeners we have, because we do have listeners who are not New Jerseyans, just a quick reminder of what is Bridgegate.
Okay, Bridgegate was the closure of the lanes on the George Washington Bridge that fed into Fort Lee, and they were because the mayor Sokolovich, I hope I'm saying that right, of Fort Lee, was a Democrat who was being wined and dined by Bill Stepien at the behest of Governor Christie to endorse.
Quite a cast of characters.
To endorse Christie's re-election for governor.
Yeah, Chris Christie was determined to have every mayor in New Jersey endorse him for his re-election.
Especially Democratic mayors.
Democrats.
Especially Democratic
mayors. You come up to my Bergen County, it's all Democratic mayors, pretty much. And
when the mayor of Fort Lee decided he wasn't going to do it, that's when we had this horrible traffic situation that imperiled the public safety of that area.
Essentially for retaliation for not endorsing him.
Because it's the Hudson County way, the New Jersey way.
Well, New Jersey, because Fort Lee is not Hudson County, that's Bergen County.
It's also good
But Chris
to know.
Christie shut down lanes leading to the bridge in Fort Lee in order to create traffic problems in Fort Lee, to retaliate against the Fort Lee mayor, who was a Democrat, for not endorsing him for his re-election.
So it's funny because
So Steve Fulop
basically gets called to testify in this trial. Not that he wanted to, because he was subpoenaed to testify. And he was wined and dined by David Wildstein, who was a convicted felon, made a plea to testify against the co-conspirators in the Bridgegate case, and was acting on orders of Bill Stepien, who later would become Donald Trump's campaign manager. Who has a column, I believe, still in the Star Ledger. So they tried to get Fulop to endorse, that would have been a plum, to endorse Chris Christie's re-election, Democratic mayor of Jersey City. He bargained off this decrease in what was owed to that company he was representing. And no one knew about that. He was actually doing this behind the scenes until he had to testify in court. So it's a matter of the court record. So he basically gets the rent reduced for the company, the Foreign Auto Processing Systems company, and
by essentially promising that he's going to endorse Chris Christie.
And he basically reneges on the offer. So Christie basically, put the X on him. And then he shows up in court. Now, Fulop had designs on the governor's race. And he got out of the governor's race, because I personally think, number one, because Governor Murphy had deep pockets and could outspend him. Number two, he didn't want this testimony to impact his campaign. I mean, I'm amazed. Well, it didn't impact him as being reelected as mayor of Jersey City, because like Trump said, I can shoot somebody in Times Square. Well, you could do the same thing at Journal Square.
A Hudson County Democrat, you could do the
same thing and be reelected, which he was. So now Steve Fulop thinks that people have, short memories. Now,
So here's Wigs for Wigs to bring down Steve Fulham.
Well, here's the other
Bottom
issue.
line, we're sinking him right now.
He's not a student of history, because in 1981, the then the one-term mayor of Jersey City, Thomas F.X. Smith, whose campaign in 1977 was "I'll walk the streets," he runs for governor. And the highlight of his campaign is that his adopted dog, Henry Hudson, which he claims he found on the property of Liberty State Park, had a speaking role in his campaign ads, boosting Tommy Smith, and what a good guy it was. Okay. Well, Tommy Smith went up in flames in the Democratic primary. Prior to Tommy Smith, the mayor preceding him was Paul Jordan, Dr. Paul Jordan, who ran as a reformer in the aftermath of the Hudson 8 trial, where the mayor, the city council president, chief of police all went to jail.
Yeah, we've actually discussed that one in a previous episode.
So Jordan was elected to fill Tom Whalen's seat for 2 years and then re-elected 2 years later. And he decides to run for governor and meets the same fate. I don't think most people in, say, Bergen County or out in Hunterdon County or Somerset County or Monmouth County are going to vote for a mayor of Jersey City for governor of the state.
Is not all that fond of
and
the
rightfully,
Hudson County machine.
Right. Frank Hague, who controlled New Jersey for 30 years, realized he could never be elected governor. But these people, they were doomed to, repeat history in the wrong way. And I think that'll be the fate also.
We've had some governors go down in flames, too, after getting elected in New Jersey.
Of course.
Chris Christie with Bridgegate.
Yeah, Florio.
Jim Florio, who just passed away a few months ago with his tax hike.
Yep.
I mean, who ran Jim Florio's re-election campaign when he lost, right?
No.
It was James Carville and Paul Begala.
Son of a gun.
Were lent out to him by Clinton.
Oh, boy.
For 1993.
I didn't know that.
He lost. He lost to Christine Todd Whitman.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Who now has quit the Republican Party. Christine Todd Whitman is a leader of the Forward Party.
The former governor who distinguished herself during 9/11, saying that the air was clean, as the head of the EPA. I have some doubts about her too.
And then of course Jim McGreevey.
Oh my God. Jim McGreevey, how could we forget Jim McGreevey?
McGreevey was our governor in the early 2000s, mid-2000s.
Yes.
Gave a job to somebody to be in charge of New Jersey's national security,
Homeland Security.
Yeah,
chair.
Who didn't seem to have very many qualifications for that job, to put it mildly.
No.
And then it later came out that the two of them were in a relationship with each other.
Yes,
that was his qualification.
We have a very colorful history.
That's just recently. That's just the last 30 years, let alone.
But as we continue with state,
John Corzine. Didn't have big scandals, but only lasted one term. Lost to Chris Christie.
Yes.
He was a man with deep pockets. He ultimately became Obama's fundraising czar for the Northeast.
He also was what was he for? Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, just like Murphy.
He was a Goldman Sachs executive.
2 Goldman Sachs executives become governors of New Jersey. 3 terms combined. Yeah. That's interesting. But if we look at the gubernatorial race, I personally think, and I'm handicapping this now, that Mikey Sherrill will basically be the next governor of New Jersey.
Interesting.
I think
Mikey Sherrill's impressive.
Very much so. Very much so.
Mikey Sherrill, again, for those of you who are out there who are not New Jerseyans, I know a number of you who listen to this are not. Mikey Sherrill is now in her 3rd term in Congress. From New Jersey. Represents a district in what counties does her district cover?
I think it covers
Passaic County.
Passaic, a portion of Bergen
maybe
County.
Maybe the western part of Bergen County, maybe the eastern part of Morris.
Yep.
Union, maybe a little bit.
A little bit of there. It's a hodgepodge of those areas.
She won her seat when Rodney Frelinghuysen retired.
Yes.
Who had been the powerful chair of the Appropriations Committee.
Rodney didn't want to run against her.
But Frelinghuysen had been in Congress from New Jersey going back to 1802. some member of that family.
I formerly worked at Frelinghuysen Middle School, named for his family because they donated the property in Morris County to the Morris School District.
A Frelinghuysen was Henry Clay's running mate in the 1840s.
Yep.
From the Whig Party. That's how long the Frelinghuysen family
I have to say, I met
had
him
power in New Jersey.
when I worked out in Morris County for the Morris School District. I met him a couple of times. He was a gentleman.
But he
Good guy.
retired.
He retired.
Mikey Sherrill won the seat. I think there had been some redistricting that played a role maybe in
Yes.
that. But she is a former helicopter pilot in the military,
Yep.
a veteran.
Of combat missions.
A combat veteran as a helicopter pilot. She then became an attorney and a prosecutor. And now she's in Congress.
With 3 kids.
So, I mean, a rather impressive resume.
Very
Is
much
well-spoken. Is
I
good
don't
on
think-
camera.
I don't think Jack Chittarella, am I saying his right?
Chittarelli.
He's already announced he's running
he's announced
again.
already.
I like that. I can't wait to see that debate.
I have some personal thoughts on Jack Chittarelli that I don't want to share because they might make people uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to make anybody uncomfortable.
Well, I mean,
wigs for
no,
wigs.
But my father-in-law is very involved in Republican politics in the state and had a very close relationship with Jack Chittarelli, and Jack Chittarelli kind of
Well, he sold,
backstabbed him and kicked him to the curb.
he sold his soul to the devil. He went on bended knee to Bedminster,
Yeah, so
not unlike Tom Kaine Jr.
right, but so Chittarelli has announced already he's a Republican. He's going to try to run again. He was the Republican nominee last governor's race, who lost to Murphy. But I think you're right. Mikey Sherrill would be a strong candidate for governor.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And she's somebody with a future in the Democratic Party.
Absolutely.
To get
Absolutely.
a governorship would be big in her
And she's still young enough.
her arc for a future in the Democratic Party.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's a good one.
What do you?
I think Tom Kaine Jr. might try again for the Republican side.
For governor?
For governor.
So he'd leave the Congress.
I think he would.
I think he was ineffectual as a legislator in the state of New Jersey. Also, I met him, a very nice guy, ostensibly a gentleman. I feel like very saddened by his turn to the extreme right and going on bended knee to the former president. But the truth of the matter is,
he has name recognition. His father was a very successful
Father
governor.
was a never Trumpist.
Well, I know, but
I mean.
His father, if you don't know Tom Kaine Sr., he was a governor of New Jersey, very successful,
Very
and popular, was term limited, so his time ended. But he later gained more notoriety nationwide as the co-chair of the 9/11 Commission,
Yes.
which did great work to uncover a lot of the details leading to that attack. Very respectable politician.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, you're right. I mean, Tom Kaine Jr. did make an extreme turn to the right. To get elected, to get the Trump endorsement.
Yeah, it kind of saddened me because I think he kind of damaged.
But other than Chittarelli, I don't really know who's out there. Again, I mean, I'm saying Kaine because at least he has name recognition and all.
Yeah, he does. He does have name recognition. I think it helped put him over the top in a very close race with Malinowski.
Yeah, Tom Malinowski.
And I wouldn't doubt that Malinowski runs against him again.
That very well could be the case.
But it's interesting.
So, Phillips out there, Mikey Sherrill maybe.
Mikey Sherrill hasn't announced for anything,
No, of
and I
course
think
not.
it's so early. I think it was interesting that Phillip wanted to get this jump 2 years, away.
Yeah,
which is very, very early
for governor's race,
yeah.
especially.
But it's interesting. I think truthfully, Steve Phillip has an interesting resume. Successful on Wall Street, basically joins the military in intelligence and goes to fight in the Gulf War, second Gulf War, I think. Second or first, I'm not sure.
Mikey Sherrill was an intelligence officer also. She was a Russia expert in her unit in the military.
But Philip had he was also the councilman for Ward E, which is the downtown. That's where the new gentry lie.
Right.
And he used that as a jumping off point to become mayor of Jersey City.
For those of you who are listening, I mean, New Jersey or not, Bill is a Hudson County person. I am not. So, I mean, I live my whole New Jersey life up in Bergen County. So
I love the theater of Hudson County and Jersey City, and I think it is definitely theater. And it's
we've had our share of theater in Bergen County.
Oh, you did?
Even
Yeah.
in my hometown of Pagoda.
Oh gosh, the guy who ran for governor.
Yeah,
What's his
Steve
what was
Lanigan.
it? Steve Flanagan.
Ran
Oh,
against
my
Cory
God.
Booker also for Senate.
Yes.
One time. But I'm going to make a recommendation to you, Bill, and to anybody out there, if you might be familiar with this, but I even used to show this to some of my classes when I used to teach a politics class. In 2003, Steve Lanigan, Pagoda's former mayor, who is legally blind, but a successful real estate developer and
Radio personality.
and served 3 terms as our mayor. Steve Lanigan was running for re-election. There was a former councilman who went into the film industry after that, who decided to make a documentary about local politics, and to do that would follow the 2003 mayor's race in Pagoda, just as a look at small town politics in America. And it turned into this race that you could not have imagined. The Democratic candidate that year, who was a councilman, looked like he was straight out of The Sopranos. There was also an independent writing candidate that year, who was a motivational speaker who was also legally blind. So we had 2 legally blind people running against each other.
Somewhat apropos.
The independent brought in the campaign manager who had managed Jesse Ventura's campaign for governor of Minnesota. And it just turned into, I mean, again, he made this documentary just thinking it was going to be this simple look at small town politics. It turned into this incredible cast of characters and all for this run for mayor of Pagoda. And a certain host of Wig for Wigs also shows up in it quite a bit, because I was going door to door with Steve Lanigan as one of his little assistants. I was in high school at the time, but I was going door keeping notes of what citizens were saying and all. So it's out there, this documentary. It's called Anytown USA. I highly recommend it. It's an incredible cast of characters and story of local politics here in New Jersey. You know, when Steve Lanigan ran for Senate against Cory Booker, Rachel Maddow dug out this documentary and played clips of it to say, this is the guy running. So I highly recommend it. I think you should go check it out, anybody out there. But Bill, I have a new class coming in. What are our final thoughts here?
Well, our final thoughts are that whenever you think that things turn around in New Jersey, they remain the same. Some things don't change. And I think that's the beauty of it and the interest in it.
And as Hamilton's clip said that I played as we started here, everything is legal in New Jersey. Welcome to the resurrection of Steve Phillips' governor's race. So we'll see where this all leads. Thank you again for tuning in. We hope to see you again soon on another episode of Wigs for Wigs. Take care, everybody.